everybody. Welcome back to another segment of the Regional Fishing Report with the Fishing Channel, where we go up and down the East Coast and we have some really great fishermen come on our show and share what's going on in their area. I'm really excited today because we have Tom Weaver, Captain Tom Weaver, with Fishing with Weaver on our show tonight and help us figure out what's going on with the Upper Bay, Captain.
Well, it's summer's here, so fishing's good. Fishing's really good where we are. The perception of not a lot of fish around, and we're fighting away with the rockfish.
Yeah.
But we've had a great couple of months. For me, learning, evolving, moving on, and I've had a really good couple of months.
That's awesome. Before we dive in, though, we always have new people who tune in and watch what's going on here. Can you briefly tell us about what services you offer on your charter?
Well, I run a light tackle boat, 23-foot center console, so ideally 3 adults, maybe 2, 1, whatever, up to 3 adults. I kind of ended up somehow specializing in kids, so I end up taking lots of kids. So mom, dad, 2 kids, couple of times 5 kids, no parents. Whoa, but when dad found out I was doing that, he's like, "You're crazy." I'm like, "Well, we'll make it happen."
Handful.
So I'm about 50-50 fly fishing to light tackle. My sort of fly fishing thing is where I grew up, and so the saltwater fly and the Chesapeake Bay to get primarily stripers is what we target. I get people coming from all over the country, from Texas, from upstate New York, to go catch stripers on a fly, and they come for days to do it. And so targeting stripers on a fly is one of my big goals. I work hard at it. And then the light tackle side, which is the kids and everything else, and I adapt. I don't troll. I don't use bait. I work hard. I think I'm slightly different from, I'd say almost unique from most of the other light tackle guides, is that this is my workshop. My boat's right outside. I leave from here every day, all the way through the year, whether it's summer, winter. I don't trailer my boat and pick a ramp and close to the action. So forces me to learn my local area really well. And I think that, I concentrate on my local area. It's what I do. And I fish for what's presented to me, because often I can't go chase a big bite, 40, 50, 60 miles south. So I sort of operate in my boundary of right out of Annapolis. So I'm that mid-bay guy. And then the services side of it, I run. The fly guy is like a full day charter, but most of my trips are half day. I do double halves. Early morning starts right now because of the sun, etc., and the way the bite is and everything like that. Late evening finishes with the way the bite is. That's going to improve. The fall changes everything. The spring was really good for me, really good. My spring was awesome. I didn't fish in the traditional areas. I fished in quote catch release areas only. No traffic, no people, tons and tons and tons of fish, and everybody else is scratching around in the middle of the day trying to catch one trophy fish and failing. And I was 100 fish a day. So my job is to put people on fish. I educate. I get a lot of people. I'm in a population dense area. I'm right between Baltimore and DC. I'm half hour from each. I get a lot of guys in these rivers who own boats and struggle to catch fish and come fish with me to learn a little bit. That's my job, is to teach you fishing. And everybody's like, "Well, what about all your spots and everything?" I said, if I show them a spot today, that's done tomorrow. It's more techniques and just getting the feel, because they go out fishing so often and catch nothing, and hey, it can happen, but I try not to catch nothing, and I'm sort of working on it and evolve. And so my job is to help these guys take their kids out and catch fish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I went on your website and I watched some of your videos. Pretty action-packed. I really enjoyed them. You did mention how unique your services are, the fly fishing. I don't think I know a charter service in this area that does that. You also do Lighthouse Adventures. Do you still do those as well?
Yes, yeah. Well, it's it's been weird. Yeah, the Lighthouse Adventures are incredible. So I've some friends of mine own a lighthouse, you know, and they own a lighthouse and they need to sort of fund the restoration efforts and etc. of it. So I pay them a fee to rent the lighthouse and take fishing charters out of a lighthouse, blop in the middle of the bay. I mean, it is the logistics. It's a My trips are typically a 24-hour trip. We meet right around the corner at the pub next door to my office here called Davis's Pub. And that's lunch, and then we run out to the lighthouse. Depending on the trip, we'll take 2 or 3 other guides, at least 2, probably 3. I have a girl Friday out there to cook all our dinners. I mean, we have to spend a day loading everything out there. I mean, water, toilet paper, booze, food. It's quite a production. So, and every year, we then have to work around with the lighthouse owners who are friends of mine. But I mean, but we definitely do it, and I'm getting more and more inquiries to do it. I get all the guides want to sign up and do the trip with me because it's so cool to spend the night on the lighthouse. It's an amazing lighthouse, and right off Gibson Island, and we've got good fishing year round. And the lighthouse, of course, they don't really get it open until 4th of July is their goal. They're working people, and they get it open 4th of July, and then through August and September, and then they're going to start thinking about winterizing it in October. So our window is limited. But yes, yeah. So lighthouse trips are just, if you, a good friend of mine wrote a song about spending the night on a lighthouse. But I mean, it's a pretty incredible experience. And that's just spend the night. Then we'll take you fishing and look after you. We provide all the food, and have a good time.
Wow, you are truly full service. I saw the photos of the inside of the lighthouse. It is beautiful.
It's incredible. I mean, well, my friends bought it 18 to 20 years ago, and I was out there with them chipping the grout, regrouting it. They put a new roof on it. They got all sorts of grants and things to restore this lighthouse. Has a complete, so the exterior structure is now, 100 years. I mean, Anderson windows and all these new windows and Thompson Creek windows and everything. But I mean, but every single piece that had to be barged out there, hoisted up, put up, and lighthouse parties were back in the day. You go out there, you work all day, and then you pull out an air mattress and a sleeping bag. We drink a bunch of rum and go to sleep. And it was work. And but they've done an incredible job restoring that lighthouse. Of all the privately owned lighthouses in the bay, it's absolutely by far and above outstanding. And it's way bigger inside than you'd imagine. It has a lot of creature comforts because my friends are extremely talented in terms of it's got solar, it's got generators, it's got air conditioning, a little bit, shower. So it's pretty amazing. It's a very cool place.
Yeah. And you also do not only inshore, but offshore for tuna and marlin, correct?
Right. I've kind of slowed all that down. I need to probably edit the website a little bit. I still do for the past 12 years, I've done the White Marlin Open and put a team together, put a group of people together, and bring a friend of mine up, a very good friend of mine, to run a boat. We're actually not doing it this year. We've just bailed on it. And unfortunately, I said, that's great. I'm not doing it this year. And then I got hired to go fish with somebody else. So I'll still be down there this year. But it was to get the average person pay per head, like a bums on seat type of deal. If you don't own a 65-foot sport fishing boat, gave them an opportunity to get in on the action and experience the White Marlin week, which is pretty cool. I've got a 4-year-old daughter now, so I'm really trying to dial everything back. It's like, and so 15 years in the Keys. I was guiding in the Keys every winter for 15 years, and I've just basically stopped that. I'd made the decision to stop that before COVID, and my last trip I was due to fly back down on the 15th of March, and COVID lockdown happened in whatever was that, 2019 or 20 or something. And I had one more 3-week trip to do, and then and that was it. and then COVID hit, and so I've never been back. And I've got all my friends down in Key West and everything like that. We keep in touch, but it was a decision made because of my daughter, not because of. And that led to spending more time up here, and so I developed. What am I going to do in the winter? Because I used to just hoof it down to Key West in November and come back in May, and some pickerel fishing and other things like that. And now I have a really robust pickerel fishing charter business. I mean, in the Seven River, and I'm 4 days a week doing that.
Okay.
And I could be busier, but I just choose not to, because 7 days a week in the summer, it's I need a little bit of a break. Yeah.
For sure, especially spending time with the family. But you must be doing something right, because apparently you won the award for best light tackle charter in the area.
Yeah, it's just that's a lot of friends. You know what I mean? It's like I tell you, here's the trick, right? Kids, right? Take a lot of kids, tell the kids vote for me, and then tell their friends, and that was a popularity poll.
For sure. Well, how can anyone who's interested in connecting with you for an amazing experience and maybe a lighthouse experience, how do they book with you? What should they do?
Well, go to the website, check out all the information. So pricing, timings, and all the rest of it are on the website. So I think that's really important first. Get an idea of what do you want to do. I kind of explain seasons, what fish we're targeting at what time of year. But give me a call. I do everything on the phone. I want to talk to you. People ask me why I don't do online booking. I need to talk to you. I understand how many, because otherwise if online booking, 6 people will show up at my dock at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, we're not going, so I need to explain the size of my boat, the type of fishing at that time of year. I need to get a little bit from you about what your goals are before we go fishing.
Right. I love that personal touch that you have. So what is the phone number that we would need to direct people to call?
It's on my website and all the stuff's there, but 410-533-0928 is my phone. It's on. I don't answer it when I'm fishing. Text is better. I leave a voicemail is fine, but text me, say, hey, call me when you get back in. I try come in every evening, sit on my porch with a little bit of a bourbon and a cigar maybe, and catch up with the days. And most people don't understand when I say you're in the book. Here's the book, right?
It's literal.
If you're in that book, right, you're fishing with me, right? If you're not in the book, you're not fishing. So
fishingwithweaver.com.
No. Fish with Weaver.
Fish with Weaver. Okay. All right. We have information up if you want to contact Captain Tom Weaver. I definitely encourage that. But in the meantime, let's get into what's going on in the Upper Bay. What are some fish, and what's the trend, and what are you using? Can you share with the audience what's going on out there?
So the classic, we're in that absolute classic summer, beginning of summer pattern or early summer pattern. The water's only 80 degrees today. I mean, it's still cold, chilly compared to what we'd expect at this time of year. So the really, if you follow the trends, and in mid to late May, the fish pile out of the rivers and they all school up right up front and nearby, and then they start moving north. And 7 years ago, they would be stacked outside Eastern Bay on the hill, and that's where we'd fish all summer long. But over the few years, so 6 years ago, 5 years ago, they would stop at Love Point, and that's where we'd fish all summer long. And then 4 years ago, they went to Colchester, and now they're in the Susquehanna Flats. They're gone. I mean, they are just those fish. The big school of resident fish have booked way north. So it was easy for me to follow those until quite recently. And last year, I remember getting very frustrated on the last day of June. And it was also another Jamie Clow and myself, and we didn't talk. We just got run into. We just got run over. There were too many boats, too many people. Zoo. And so the next day, I went into the chop tank, and lo and behold, there was Jamie, and we were like, "That sucked. We're coming back here." And it was great, And then so that was July the 1st last year. I went straight back. I turned right out of Annapolis instead of left, and I never went back north. This year, once the fish ran past went around the corner past Rock Hall. I was up there for 2 or 3 days, and that was the beginning of June this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you know what? I don't want to run 25 miles north twice a day with kids and get beat the hell up in the southerly on the way home on the end of the second trip. Right. So I fished a lot closer to home and developed it, just worked it. We found them. It's been, I've had a real, June has been amazing for me. I have a really good fish. I'm fishing mostly in Eastern Bay. I've run into Chop Tank a bit. I kind of have an affinity for running into the little Chop Tank. I love the little Chop Tank. Mm-hmm. It's not been as good. The Eastern Bay has been really productive.
Yes.
If you know where to look and what to do. And I think what's happening, I see a lot of people asking me, want to follow me and want to do this. I said, look, it's not. I'm not doing a lot different. I'm just working hard. Sure, I know times to be here, there, and everywhere, but searching for, Eastern Bay is it's my backyard. From Annapolis, I don't fish on the Western Shore. I don't fish much here at this time of year. In the fall, I fish a lot on this side. But this time of year, we get a lot of the blooms come out of the Seven River, South River, and muddy up the water and deprive the oxygen, and there's not a lot of fish.
Yeah.
So Eastern Bay is my backyard. I come out of here, I run into Eastern Bay, and if it's not working, I'll run south if the wind is out of the north or wherever. So the first thing every day is I'm looking wind direction. Not so much strength. I can deal with different things. So first I want to know what the wind direction is, and then how strong it is, and then we decide where to go based on that. Currents are so unpredictable up here. Most people go, well, I want to book a trip on August the 23rd in the afternoon because the high tide's going to be at noon and it's going to be going out all day. I'm like, up here that doesn't make any sense because you get a northerly, it's going to go out all day. It comes southerly, it's never going to go out. So I don't worry too much about tide. I have to go. I go twice a day, and I'll deal with the tide when I get there. So I'm looking for moving water. If I don't like the water where I am, I move. I think the number one thing that you'll find between the professional guides in this area, and there's not many of us, it's probably half a dozen max, is we don't spend very long in one place if we don't like it.
Right.
I'll make a big run, I'll get to a spot, and I'll go, crap, as I'm slowing it down. And I let them cast for a few minutes just to stretch their legs. And I'm like, okay, we're moving.
Well, Captain, what fish are you casting for? Are you referring to striped bass? Are you talking about reds?
So you have to understand that I'm in Annapolis, just south of the Bay Bridge. Now my territory is 25 miles north of the Bay Bridge and 25 miles south of the Bay Bridge, or maybe a bit further. But this particular area, our number one period game fish is the striped bass year round, period. However, there's all sorts of other things pop it, pickerel in the winter, snakeheads a little bit. It's not really a thing that I can get. Blue catfish, that's north. That's not my thing. And I don't bait fish, and I think it's hard to catch a blue catfish on a fly. Maybe it's possible, but we get what I call the exotic species, and exotic species are just fun to catch. And the exotic species start when we get speckled trout come up soon first. There you go.
You got a nice
bingo. Look at that. I didn't even have to say speckled trout.
Lovely.
So specks are popping up, and all these specks are in Eastern Bay in the last 2 weeks, right? So the first thing we get is speckled trout. So once the speckled trout show up and they're coming thicker. Now this didn't happen 5 years ago. This didn't happen 8 years ago. It was striper. But now the stripers have gone far further north, and now we're getting speckled trout. That was today. That's a trophy speckled trout, we call that.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So he's going to get a certificate for that.
Yeah.
And these are all in Eastern Bay in the last week or two. And so now we've got an alternative to striped bass. Now, striped bass is still the number one target because it's our area. And then soon enough, following this right behind those guys, I'm expecting puppy drum. I haven't got one yet, but I'm hitting my spots yesterday, today, trying to get a puppy drum in my which are different to the speckled trout spots. But I'm looking for puppy drum. I'd expect to get those in the next week or two, and then right after that, we're going to get the big drum. And those big drum, I caught most of my big drum around Poplar Island last year. So we're talking 50+ pound, 50-inch red drum on light tackle right in our quote backyard. I mean, it's 8 to 10 miles from Annapolis. And,
Ancient East is what I call them.
Right.
Yes.
And then of course come the kids' favorites. It's debate between bluefish and Spanish mackerel, but the 14-year-old boys just love those fish. Blues here, and then Spanish mackerel, because they air out. You see them. The blues are busting on the surface. So all of these fish, and it's a rockfish. It's a rock. The disappointment of a rockfish. Like
I know.
that's
I feel that
22-inch
about
rockfish.
catfish sometimes.
It's a 22-inch rockfish. That's a really nice rockfish for this time of year. I mean, it's not an 8-inch bluefish, but I mean, I love the bluefish more than anybody, and then the Spanish mackerels are just super fun.
Yeah.
So those are the quote exotic, and they come in little waves, and they come at slightly different times of the year. But we're heavy into the specs. I'm expecting, and that one we got today. I mean, all of these big girls. I mean, they're big. Most of them have been over 22, and they're definitely full of eggs. And so we release them, and hoping that we'll develop. If that turns into and the speckled trout used to be something you go down to Crisfield and fish. 10 years ago, you'd have to go to Crisfield to go catch speckled trout, but they don't have any speckled trout. They've all come up here. So I'm like, wow, okay, well, cool. Eastern Bay's become speckled trout, soon to become a speckled trout capital for big ones, trophy speckled. We're getting trophy fish here.
That's
The redfish
exciting.
are trophies.
Yeah.
So the mackerel are trophies, and so these are fish that we can catch, realistically target and catch. So it's wonderful, and the bridge seems to be the big barrier, and
Usually.
the bait doesn't like to go much further. We got so much bait stacked up just south of the bridge. The dolphins, we not even need to talk about the dolphins, but they're doing some crazy stuff to the fishery right now.
Yes.
I've seen some. I mean, I'm on a pile of fish right now, and the the dolphins have messed those fish up. They are, they're all healing. I mean, they're all their scars, which the dolphins have just torn them up, and they're now getting over and starting to look pretty good.
Yeah. Well, what kind of tackle are you using for the speckled trout? Secret question. Are you willing to share your secret? Okay.
Just so happened. Guess what? I catch with that. I catch striped bass. I catch speckled trout. So as of Saturday, I will cut all of these off my rod, and I will put all these back on my rod, because now I'm targeting speckled trout instead of targeting rockfish.
I love it.
So what does that look like to you, Anastasia? What does that look like?
Yeah, I was going to ask you what ounce jig head that is.
So what does it look like? Look at that deep body on it and all the rest of it. It looks like a 4-inch peanut butter. It looks like a 4-inch peanut butter, right? So this is a 3/8-inch jig, 3/8-ounce BKD, custom made for me.
Ooh, BKD.
Yeah, custom made. You see, do you know why it's custom made? They don't bother putting the eyes on it, because I'm too cheap to have eyes put on mine. So I just get them, without eyes, because I lose so many, and the eyes, I don't believe in eyes. So 3/8-ounce jig head and a 4-inch paddle tail.
I love it.
Most of my trout have come on those. All my rockfish come on those, because it's pretty much all I use.
Wow.
And then throughout the season, we'll talk about different years, but right now, 3/8-ounce.
Okay.
And a 4-inch paddle tail. That's the bait that's out there, outside of rain minnows and all the rest of it, which is when we start getting into the max and the bluefish, and GI jig rain minnow, for the max is it. But if they're not got teeth, this is the deal.
Beautiful.
And then the fly, and it just so happens. So this is the fly I use, right? So this fly costs more even for me to buy than any jig I ever own, right? And I have dozens of them, but it looks very similar to this.
It does.
Surprise, right? So this is the Bob Popovich Hollow Fly by Alan Rupp. He ties them for me up in New England, and Alan is a professional fly tyer. I've given this to local fly tyers. They're like, holy smoke, how do you tie that thing? But it has incredible action in the water, and it mimics this bait, and it's deadly on the fish. So that's my number one fly.
Awesome. That's beautiful. And as far as puppy drum, you know, when you're fishing, same thing. Just go to it. All right, very
Good
simple.
time. Puppy drum, same thing. Shot different place. So the puppy drum. So where am I finding? I mean, that's the one thing these guys are always like. Where are you catching those fish? Where are you catching those fish? It's not spots. Well, it's spots, but I mean, it's puppy drum. I'm catching in 8 inches of water. You know, where you wouldn't even think that anything could be there.
No.
Muddy, 8 inches of water. You lob that under the grass bank, and it's got to be 8 inches of water. The thing sits in the water, bam, and off it goes, right? Muddy, dirty water, right around the corners where the current's ripping around, and they're tucked up in there. Puppy drum, throw that in there, you get those. Clean water right around the corner where we've got grass beds and stuff in 2 to 3 feet of water. Patch grass. I get the guys standing up on the bow, so they could look down and not put this in the grass, fish it around the grass edges, and the trout come right out of it, grab that. And rockfish, throw this anywhere in the whole bay, you will catch a rockfish somewhere, you know. So it's more of a targeting thing. And again, the same thing with the fly. Fly guys, we've got to be a bit more, you know, we've got to work hard at it. But I really give them a target specific area, and I think there's a trout right there, or there's a puppy drum right there, or there could be rockfish here, and we have to work with those guys and I have good fly fishermen fishing with me, so they can get it out there. And,
okay. Do you teach fly fishing on your charters, particularly when you have children? Do they have those interests?
No, it's a waste of money to come on my trip if you cannot throw a fly.
Okay.
So I will give occasional pointers. I'm not a fly teacher. I've got very good friends of mine who are fly teachers, and I go see them and they fix my cast up. You know what I mean? And so I mean, I get people who want that happens. You know, they book a fly trip, don't have it, and I'm like, oh my God, okay. It's a puddle of line 3 feet from the boat, and I'm like, this isn't going to work. So I have to help them out, and I can do that, basic fly casting. Help them out, but realistically, to spend the money on a fly fishing charter, you need to go practice first. Learn how to at least I say don't have to learn double haul, but you know, get to be able to throw a fly 60 feet, you know, 40 feet, then double haul. Depending on the time of year where we need to be, but certainly sometimes we need to be on double haul, and it really doesn't. It's not worth it if you don't fly fish, and this is different from the trout guys. I get trout guys who really cannot cast as far as water guys, and it's bigger, heavier gear. I've got all the gear, I've got everything you need, but at least go throw some flies before you come fish with me. And that is, I call them when they're talking to me, hey, we're coming fly fishing, and if you're driving down from upstate New York, practice. Don't show up on day one and oh my God, you know, you missed half of the day and you can't get to the fish.
That makes perfect sense. So we've talked about fly fishing a little bit, but I want to go back to talking about your light tackle now and fish in the bay. So we're in the thick of the summer. How about moving into the fall? What happens that you see in the trends in the fall season?
Well, we're in that real transition zone where those fish are just hunkered in the corners, not feeding during the middle of the day. We're waiting for them to come out. There's so much bait up here, but the dolphins have got the fish pushed right in, tucked up in hiding places. They're about to come out. The little fish, I'm a bit sort of wondering what's going on. I mean, I'm not catching many little fish, and I've been talking to the people that deal with that stuff, and they're worried about it, and I'm like, I'm not seeing too many little fish either, because that's easy for me to take the kids out in the middle of the afternoon, blowing up fish. That's about to change. I mean, they've got to come out, so we'll transition to that summer pattern, which is July, August, early September. And that's what we've got to deal with for the next couple of months, and that's our fishery. So if you want to get something outside of the little fish, you got to go top water very, very early in the morning or late in the evening. Late in the evening is a couple half hour right before sunset or at sunset is where you get the bigger fish, and they're not going to feed you in the middle of the day. And then we get the exotics, which, I mean, the specks will feed in the middle of the day. The drum will feed in the middle of the day. The big red drum will feed in the middle of the day. Maybe Kobe if we get them this far up. I mean, I get a few shots at Kobe, but it's not I'll get them, but it's not something I realistically expect to get on a daily basis. So that's just the summer. I mean, I'm not going to move right into the fall right now. We'll deal with that next time. But I mean,
that's fine. Yeah. So it sounds like things are really hot on the bay, and it's time to schedule a charter with Captain Weaver here.
Right.
So let's take it while it's hot. Well, thank you so very much for your time, Captain. Really enjoyed it. Heck, I'm looking forward to doing some of these charters with you as well, particularly the Lighthouse. So maybe I can get on the calendar someday.
It's a crazy cool experience, that Lighthouse. It's like, it's plopped in the middle of the Chesapeake Bay. I mean, you're a million miles from anywhere. You sit there on one of the 3 decks. It's got balconies everywhere, and you watch the storms roll in the evening if necessary or whatever. And you don't like the wind in this direction, you just walk around the other side. So,
it's a piece of history, definitely meant to be explored for sure. So again, Captain Tom Weaver, we have his information in the chat. And thank you so much, Captain, for your time. Really appreciate it. Thanks, everyone, for joining in. Hope everyone has a great evening. And as usual, fish on.